Hello, it's Melinda. Welcome to our Not So Live. Oh, technology lately irritates me. That's a polite word of putting it. My modem is currently spending some time outside, so it will be thrown in a minute. NBN's great. I have NBN. It's whatever. Okay, so welcome to our demonstration / class for this morning. We are looking at my foam stamps, but just before we go through that, just wanted to let you know that we are having a sale on my website. Hopefully that's in focus. Or pop over to my website, scrapbookingcraft.com.au. We have 50% off a discount clearance section that I've got just way too much stuff of. 25% off other assorted chipboard. All these prices are reflected on the website. These discounts will be up until Wednesday night, and then new discounts go up Thursday for another event I'm doing with one of our craft shows that got cancelled, Craft Alive. There should be some live demos at the end of next week as well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all pre-recorded videos. There'll be stuff to watch, I'll put it that way. So we've got 15% off stamps and masks. Sorry, stencils and masks. We're using some of those today. 15% off our 12x12 stencils. And my daughter's put her napkins on 25% off. My daughter Alexis is 12 and learning about business. So she decided Mum's napkin stash was too large and has decided with Mum's permission to sell some off. So she'll be doing all the aspects of that. She'll be loading them on the website. She'll be packing orders, going to the post office, working out the profit. She quickly worked out that there is profits when you sell stuff, and she will be keeping those apparently. Still got to discuss that with her. So welcome to our demonstration today. So we're focusing on my foam stamps. So apart from chipboard, Jen does a lot of my chipboard. And you may have got some of my foam stamps a couple of retreats ago. We did put them in with the Junkie Junk Journal. They're great. So they're a foam stamp. They're about 1 centimetre thick. Regardless of what colour you have, it doesn't matter. It depends what I can source. And at the moment I've got light grey. So my new foam stamps out next week. Haven't worked out what designs I'm doing yet, but we'll get there. So the foam stamps are 1 centimetre thick, so you can pick them up and grab them. You don't need to mount them on a clear acrylic block, but if you want to, you can put a bit of high-tack double-sided tape on the back and mount them on an acrylic block. But there's really no need to, just depending on how you want to handle your stamps. So you can use stamps with inks, paints. They're great for art journaling, great for scrapbooking. We're going to use them with some embossing powder today. So these are all the designs we've got available on our website. And the new ones will go up soon. So we've got small cogs. We've got lots of geometric sort of patterns for art journaling. I can make stamps sort of to custom order. I don't usually do one-offs, but if it's a really cool design and something I'll use again, I will look at putting it in my range. We're going to use our feather and our abstract stamp. So we do small ones and big ones. They're all washable, so once you put your paint and ink on them, a lot of these ones are dirty. I must clean them up from demonstrating. You can just wash them with soap and water. So we're going to use our abstract leaf today and our dotty leaf. So what we're actually going to use today is we're going to make something that looks like, I always say something because I can never repeat things, something that looks like this. Now, these stamps here we've used clear embossing powder, and we've used some oxide inks over the top with some of the new fantastic ink blending brushes that Jen has got in stock. Let me grab some card. So I've got some pre-cut card here. What I'm going to do is just cut it in half so it's a bit easier to work with, and I'm just going to make a card front. I should have had one of these cut, but I was playing and I used them all. So this is just white cardstock. So what we're going to do is use a Versamark ink pad. Now this is, Jen sells these as well. Actually had to get a new one from Jen because my clear ink pad was not clear anymore. My clear ink pad was about 12 years old and didn't work anymore. So they do last a long time. So you can see it's sort of white, but it goes on clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to use clear embossing powder. You can use this ink pad with any coloured embossing powder. It just depends on what colour embossing powder you put on top to what colour you get. I was playing with a bronze embossing powder, and Jen has a huge variety of embossing powders as well. So I used the clear ink pad under this bronze one as well. So depending on what colour you want on top, that's what embossing powder you use. You just need a ink pad to basically stick the powder to it. So we just ink up our stamp as normal. Just going to tap it on. This is a very new ink pad, so it's super juicy. You want it to be super juicy. And I'm stamping white on white. Let me just take this paper away. If the light doesn't shine too much on the black, I will put it here so you can see. You possibly won't be able to see the white ink or the white embossing powder. And I do apologise, here comes the rain. You'll sort of see the wet ink. So you can see where it is. You have to be fairly quick when you're inking with embossing powder because you don't actually want the ink to dry before you can get your embossing powder stuck on top. So I've done 2 leaves there. You probably can't see much at the moment and you're going, what is Melinda doing? I can't see a thing. But all will be revealed in a moment's time. So just watching where I'm stamping. So I like to hold the foam stamps down for about 5 seconds, regardless of whether I'm using them with ink or paint. Just gives that ink time to contact with your paper. Now, I use a lot of clear embossing powder, so I like to store mine in a plastic container. Just makes it easier. Sorry for the noise. Just going to pop the lid off. Just make sure it's got a nice tight lid, because if you do knock it over, not sure whether you're going to be able to see, but I do have 3 leaf shapes on there. So if it's in my container, I can just pick it up and dump it onto my embossed onto my ink, and I don't actually waste any. So I tip my card over. You should be able to see the white, sort of white on white powder. There we go. I just don't want to go too far up because of the lights. Give it a thump on the back and it gets rid of any loose powder that's sitting on there. So the powder will only stick to where the ink pad is. Now you do need a heat tool for this and not a hairdryer. The reason not a hairdryer, just put my lid back on my ink pad, good idea to put those lids back on, is a hairdryer will make your powder fly away before the heat has time to set it. Now it's going to get a little noisy. I'm only going to demonstrate heating it up once, and then I've done some examples to show you the inking. So what I like to do is use a heat tool. I like to get my heat tool hot, so I put it off to the side for about 30 seconds till it's hot, and then I start on the embossing. And you might be able to see, I might hold it up if I can not get my fingers. Sorry, before we start that, you'll see it start, this is all powdery, you'll see it start to shine, and the shine will sort of start here and run across the card. If you've never done, sorry, if you've never done embossing before, I'll get a bit loud, bear with me a minute. So that is super loud, I do apologise. So you can see here that this is shiny, and I won't touch it quite yet because it is quite hot when it first melts, so don't stick your fingers in it because you will burn your fingers. But you notice it's gone from little grains of powder to like a solid shiny surface. We'll just heat up these other 2 and then we will finish with the noisy heat gun. So a lot of people, when they're doing embossing powders, will wave their gun around like this. That's no good. You want to start in one spot and you'll see the powder start to melt and move. As soon as the powder's starting to move, as soon as it's starting to crystallize and like the shiny stuff is beginning and it starts to move, you want to move your heat tool around. You don't want to do this because you've got to get one spot hot and then move on to the next spot and the next spot and the next spot. You don't want to do this because it's not going to actually get it hot enough. That makes sense. That's cool enough to touch now. So you can sort of see, you can see that. So this one has been done with the bronze embossing powder. So you can do it virtually with any colour. I believe Jen has a load of different colours. So I could take this now and fussy cut it out. I know some of you don't like fussy cutting. I can fussy cut it out as an embellishment for my page, or I can continue to work on this to make it a background for my card. So let's make it into a background for our card. Just flattening it out. So I'm going to bring in one of my stencils. What I found with stenciling is to get a really good impression. And where are my samples? I had samples for everything. I was so organised for the live this morning. If you've got any questions as we go through, when I post this up, drop them in a comment box and I'll come back and answer them. If you want to know any of the products I've used, Jen has most of them, or nearly all of them, or can order them in. And I will answer the questions that way. Okay, so this is one I prepared earlier with the leaves, and this leaf stencil is one of my designs in the background. Now, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to actually see. You should be able to see. Now, this leaf stencil is quite detailed, and I used to use the Tim Holtz blending foam on my stencils, and I found I wasn't getting a really good impression. This is what I've used on this one with the blending foam, because it doesn't get in and out of the fine little crevices. Plus, if your stencils are a bit more fragile, the blending foam just sort of sits over the top. So it has its sort of purpose, but I didn't like it that much. What I will be using today is a blending brush. Not sure the name of these. I was going to ask Jen in the live to pop up the name of the blending brushes, but she does have them in stock in different size packs. So it has some nice bristle tips on it, and the advantage with the little bristle tips is they can get in all the nooks and crannies and give you a much better stenciled look. These brushes are fantastic. Let me just put some paper down so I can clean off my brush. The way I clean off my brush between colours is basically just rub it on a bit of colour. Now, these brushes have a handle. I particularly don't like the handle on them. I prefer to grab, and it's a bit of personal preference, when you get a brush, have a bit of a play where you like to hold it to use it. I've seen people hold it with the handles. For me, I don't have as much control. I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to actually grab it around here. It's like these ones. I never used to grab the handle. I used to grab it around the wood. It's just me. So I like to grab it around here and I have a bit more better control. So we're going to lay our stencil down. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this stencil around a lot, because see the gaps in the stencil? I don't particularly want the gap showing up, so I just want the leaf design. So I'm going to lay it down. And yes, you could tape your card down and tape your stencil down, but I'm not going to do that because I don't do that. I've actually got my eye on one of Jen's tools. It's by, I think it's Wendy Vicky. It's a magnetic platform with magnets. It's great for holding stencils down when you're stenciling. I think it's called a Make Art Station. So I'm just using Distress Oxide inks today. This one is Fired Brick. So to load up your brush, just sort of tap it on your ink pad. And then what we're going to do is just do circular motion. Obviously, the harder the press, the more colour you get down. What I also like about these brushes is you don't actually get any hard lines. When I found with this one, the first time I put my brush down, I got a hard circly line. Was worse when I had the rectangle ones. A little bit better with the circle ones, but I find I don't get that with this particular brush. So just going to go all over the edge of the card. So I'm holding quite close to where I'm stenciling. And I do apologise for the table wiggling. I was supposed to have my whole new table built by this retreat. And yeah, well, life got in the way. So now if we take that up, you can see we've got some really nice colour on that. So again, now I've lost where I had my stencil. I don't want these big gappy bits, so I'm just going to line up in this gap, line up here. So where we've actually embossed with the foam stamp will actually stay clear. At the moment, I am putting a bit of embossing ink, Distress ink over the top of it, but I am going to wipe it back with a baby wipe. So just going round and round, I need to come off the leaves. What I like to do is go in with a darker colour I'm just going to line up a bit more of here. I find this works with it better with a smaller design stencil in the background as opposed to a big gapy hole one, like with big gaping holes, if that makes sense. So just wanting to move the stencil around. There's a bit on the corner I missed. As you can see, I'm grabbing the brush right up on the head bit. I like to do it that way. That's just me. I tend to do things a weird way, but they still work. Whatever makes you comfortable, whatever way you want to hold your tool, that's fine. You have to work with art. You have to work and find what works for you. So since I've got these blending brushes, I have used my Oxide inks a whole lot more. They sort of, I did a demonstration at one of the big paper craft shows a couple of years ago with the Oxide inks. They sort of sat in my stash for a little while, but I've sort of rediscovered them once I found these ink blending brushes. Just last little bit over here. What I like about the Oxides is they actually stack up with colours really well. So I'm just sort of doing circular motions. So I've missed a bit over here, which is nothing unusual. Usually I miss bits. So what I'm going to do now is, actually I just want to touch a little bit here. It's just a bit gappy. I want some more dots over there. So the idea for this is to have a whole bunch of leaves. Even though the stencil looks like this, I haven't made it look like this. I've moved it around lots and lots of times. Okay, so to clean the brush, all I do is do this. Obviously, I have a brush for if I'm using black, I have a separate brush. If I'm using, I'll tend to keep a brush for darker colours and then a brush for lighter colours. But as you can see, if I do this on paper, not a lot of the ink actually sticks in the bristles, which is really cool. Usually this type of tool actually sucked up the ink. Sorry, I was just watching how long I'm recording for. I don't want to make this video way too long. So now I'm going in with Fossilized Amber, and what I'm going to do is go over fairly lightly and in sort of big circles to sort of fill in some of the white so it's not so stark. That's what I did on this one. Now I could do this in reverse order. I could go in with the yellow first. The Oxide inks tend to stack because they're I'll see if I can get it right, a dye and a pigment fusion. They stack better on top of each other than the dye inks he first brought out. The dye inks are a bit more translucent. These have a bit more white opacity in them, so they're great for stacking and layering. So just being quite light-handed. Oops, sorry, shaking the table. My laptop's wobbling. Next week, I'm building my new table. It's a bit of a hack job, my table. It's 2 side cubbies and it's a piece of wood. But it's not the trestle table and it's not going to wobble. Doesn't have to look pretty, it's just got to be functional. Okay, what I will go back and do is I want to put a bit more darker colour inside the leaves, inside the feathers to make them pop. So I'm just going to pop a bit more dark in there. It doesn't matter that I'm going over the embossing because I'm going to rub that back with a baby wipe. So obviously as you build up your colour, you just keep tapping back into your ink pad. I'm just going to blend that out a bit. Just want these leaves to pop out a little bit more than they are. So to make the leaves pop, I'm just going to grab a good old baby wipe. And I'm just going to lightly go over where I've got the embossing. I don't want to sort of touch the ink between. So I'm just being ever so gentle, if I can be gentle, and just rubbing off, and the ink will really rub off easily off the embossing powder because it's a shiny surface. Just do that fairly quickly. You don't want it to set on the top. I'm liking that one. That one is really, really cool. So it's a different look. I must have picked up a different colour. Maybe I picked up a darker brown when I did my sample. But I like that one as well. Very cute. Just want to fix up this little bit of error is bugging me at the moment. So let's just, because it's a bit of a gappy, we're just going to move our stencil and go in again, and then, that's better. And then sort of blend it out. I like that a whole lot better. So you can do your blending around your edges with this as well, but I'm going to do the direct to paper just to get a bit of a darker edge. So I think this will finish it off. So this could be a panel in my art journal. It could be a background for a card. It could be, you could do the same thing on a scrapbook page. So this technique will transfer to almost any of your paper crafts. I really like that. That's cool. So what I'd probably do is, if it's a card, I'd get a fairly chunky die that has a sentiment on it and stick it on. Or I'm having issues finding my dies at the moment. I have lost a box of them in my house somewhere. Let's go and do this one, and this one we're going to do it with a bit of green. These are sort of autumn colours, so I decided to do, it's sort of autumn at the moment, so I decided to do autumn colours. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Let's go with green, which is peeled paint. Whoops. All thumbs today, which is peeled paint. Sorry, I'm trying not to rock the table. I'm very conscious of that. I don't want to make you seasick. Must have had a bit of that brown in the blending brush, but that's okay. So just a nice circular motion. I find with these more detailed stencils, if you just do small portions of it, they work a whole lot better than trying to hold it here and sort of blend over here. So I'm holding quite close to where I'm blending. So just moving the stencil around. This stencil is green. It's got a bit of acrylic paint on it. I don't tend to, I'm very naughty. I don't tend to wash a lot of my stencils unless I use texture paste or like modelling paste. That will damage your stencils. Sometimes it's a bit easier to have a stencil with green paint or green ink on it when I'm demonstrating. Otherwise the stencils are white. So it's probably a method in my madness of not wanting to clean it. Just want to do a little bit in there. So we do have limited supplies of our stencils at the moment. I'm having trouble sourcing the plastic just because of all the travel restrictions and all the whole COVID thing. It's affecting everything. I'm hoping to be able to get some more. So a lot of our stencils on our website have limited amounts and quantities on them. So if you are looking at something, I would grab it sooner rather than later, than wait. If you do wait, you just might have to wait a couple of months till I get plastic, more stencil plastic in. I had a hard time getting more raw material for my foam stamps too the other day. Everything seems to be in short supply at the moment. So just going in with the Fossilized Amber again, making sure I go in behind the leaves so they all sort of behind where I've embossed. Just to take the white off. My ink pads possibly need re-inking. As I said, I haven't used them for possibly a couple of years. May have used a couple of colours. The great thing I found about embossing powder is actually it lasts ages. That clear in that box, I'm going to embarrass myself. I had at my shop. I had a retail store many, many years ago. I closed my retail store. Well, my daughter's 13 this year and I closed it when she was 1. So I closed it 12 years ago and I was using that in classes in my store in that steel Chinese container. So embossing powders is one product that I've found lasts the test of time in your stash. It does not go bad, not that any of mine have gone bad. some products I have found have a shelf life and you do need to use them up. Oh, I like that one. I can't ask you what you think, can I? I'll post some still photos when I post the video of these ones that I've made as well, just to show you some close-ups. But that is really nice too. It looks like a pile of leaves in the background. So you can go in and sort of keep blending as much as you want. What I also want to show you is you can just blend with stencils without doing embossing. Just looking for my stencil. Not that one. Oh, I've put my scrap paper over the top. So I made this before, so you can make some really cool patterns, and I can see this on an art journal page or on a scrapbook page. So we're just going to change out our Distress Oxides and bring in some brighter colours. So I have carved pumpkin, candied apple, oh, it's making me hungry, I haven't had lunch yet, seedless preserves, why are they all named after food, and Mermaid Lagoon. So again, this stencil has these little bits poking up, and what I find is with these kind of stencils, if I use the blending tool, these bits get stuck and you can damage your stencil. And even with these sort of thinner bits, but the blending blending sticks, blending handles, I don't know what they're called. Why is this not alive so I can ask Jen? Ink blending tools, let's just call them that. So we're going to make a rainbow. So what I tend to do when I make a rainbow, and I made this one very quickly this morning, it's got a few finger smudges on it. Let's try and not get finger smudges on it. So I'm going to start in the middle with the lightest colour and then go out with the biggest with the darkest colour. So I'm just going to go on the paper and make sure I don't have any ink. So again, you could tape this down, or I'm just going to hold it. So just going to go lightly in circles, going out and out, and then when I want to change colour, just going onto my scrap paper. And I do apologise if you can hear scratching in the background of the audio. There, my daughter's two bunnies. They are in the run, which is in the corner of my kitchen lounge room. And every time I go to do a video, without fail, they scratch, they chew, they throw stuff in their cage. They're little monsters, actually. Who decided to get bunnies? One of them picked up their food bowl last night, was a little empty, and it was probably time for dinner, and threw it upside down. In other words, I want food. I thought that was a bit rude. So just trying to blend the first colour into the second colour, and you can go over. I'll just flip this up. See how you're getting a nice smooth blend? I'm just going to get that colour off. Now we're going to go into, so that was candied apple, we're going to go in with seedless preserves, my favourite colour of purple. So just going around again in the circular motion. So I'm sort of wanting the purple to stop at the edge of the stencil, and then I'm going to put blue around the edge. So what I do is I come back in and over that orange colour, so I don't have a definite line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin my square cardstock without moving my stencil. Yeah, that really happened. This is where one of those make art stations would be fantastic. Now just got to line it up again. Bear with me while I line it up again. Nope, it must have turned one. There we go. Got it. I was going to say spin it without moving the stencil, and I didn't do that. So I'm just mainly holding in the middle with this one. And then we are getting a lot of ink on top of the stencil, and I'll show you something pretty cool you can do with that in a minute as well. So just trying to not come out beyond the stencil with my purple. And now we're going to move on to the blue one, which was, I think, Mermaid Lagoon. Mermaid Lagoon. Oh, come on, Ink Pad, open up. I'm trying to do it one-handed. Now I just want to move my hand, and I'm probably getting inky prints. I must admit, I'm not the best with ink blending. I'm still learning. I still get blobs where I don't want to get blobs. I watch some YouTubers and some artists or crafters, and they have it beautifully smooth and it's gorgeous, and I'm going, I wish I could do that. I think I'm a bit heavy-handed. This brush certainly helps you get a much better look, so they are fantastic investments. I must admit, I'll be doing a lot more of this blending type thing now that I have these brushes, and because I just didn't get really good results with the foam blending tools with my more detailed stencils. So just wanting to hold that stencil round and go around the edge. Imagine this on a 12-inch page with a 12-inch stencil. Ooh, wouldn't that look nice? I am planning on doing a lot more demonstrating and working with my products and uploading videos onto my Facebook page and to my YouTube channel I have for work. So what I'll do is I will link in the Facebook group, I will, in the Hillbilly Scrap and Retreat group, I will pop up my link to my website, to my YouTube channel. I will also pop up my YouTube personal channel, where, as I say personal, it's the one I have a bit more fun on. It's got a load of art journaling pages on it. And as I say personal, it's just not my business one. It's got a whole, my personal one, it's called Alexis and Melinda's Art Space, because my 12-year-old comes on and plays. And we do a whole lot of fun stuff as well. So I'm just going to move that. Oh, wow, doesn't that look pretty? I have moved it over here. I obviously didn't line it up exactly right, but I love that sentiment in the middle of it, or something, probably sentiment down here to cover up my whoopsies. But what you can also do is we've actually got ink now on top of our stencil. So what we can do is we can actually make sort of a watermark impression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a piece of kitchen towel roll down so I don't spray my entire surface. Let's cover up my oxide inks because I don't want it in there. So just going to give that a spray with some water in a spritz bottle, because these oxides are water reactive. I'm then going to take my piece of cardstock, place it on top, and give it a bit of a press. Now I want to leave my cardstock there for probably 5 to 10 seconds because that water needs time to react to the ink, and then it needs time to actually press onto the card. So I'm just going to give it a nice smooth down. Now this isn't a perfect stamped image, but it uses up the waste of the ink that we've got and gives you some cool designs. A lot of these things go in my scrap box, and I'll pull them out one day and use them in my art journal. I'll make a card with them. I may use them on a scrapbook page. Just depends on what. Oh, I like that. That's really cool. That will make a really nice faint background. So I will dry that off with the heat tool. Actually got a bit better design than that one. So I don't like to waste things. So if I've got ink on a stencil like this, I will go and stamp it off, and you get a piece of pretty pattern paper you can use. So once this is dry, I can re-ink more over the top of it. I can take the stencil, lay it on top, and add some more colour to it. Let's do that with the one I prepared earlier. When I say I prepared earlier, it sounds like I'm on a cooking show, and now I've lost my stencil. You're yelling at me where it is. Ah, it's over here. It's wet. Let's just dry it off. Because we don't want a wet stencil to do this. So let me just... Oh, did I get that lined up pretty well perfect, did I? I was going to say, excuse my head if it comes in a shot while I line that up. Now, what are we going to do? I'm going to put some purple behind the yellow, because at the moment our stencil is covering up this stamped image. So the colour we put down is going to go in the white bits. Because the yellow is there, I'm not going to put yellow there because we're just going to add yellow on yellow. I'm going to put purple, and yellow and purple will contrast against each other, and that should look pretty cool. Haven't tried this yet. Let's just make a fool of myself on video, will we? I do that enough in person. If you've done any classes with me, you know what I'm like. But that's all right. I like experimenting. It's fun. And that's what my art journaling is for me and my play. It's all about experimenting. If I don't like it at the end of the day, what have I wasted? A bit of cardstock and a bit of ink and a bit of my time. Let's have a look. Oh, that looks really cool. I'm going to bring that out a bit further and then maybe put some blue. I love Seedless Preserves. Purple's one of my favourite colours. Just going to check the time on this video. How long have I been waffling for? Laptop, move your screen so I can see. Okay, not that long. I can get carried away when I do videos and demonstrations. I go, oh, let's try this, let's try this. Let's just spin this around. Whoops, moved. This is where that Make Art Station. I've been eyeing one off for a while. Might just have to bite the bullet and get one. Because you can put your magnets down and I'll be able to spin this around on the little Make Art Station and not move my stencil, which would be fantastic. Sometimes tools like that are a great investment. You struggle and struggle without them, and then once you've got them, you go, why did I ever do without them? So I hope you've enjoyed our little demo today, and I apologise it's not live, but technology and myself are not friends lately. So a video is better than nothing at all. So if you do have any questions or want anything clarified, let me know in the comments and I will come back and have a look at the comments. The Facebook group that we are retreating in this weekend will be still active for several weeks still. I was chatting to Jen about that this morning actually. So definitely keep uploading your beautiful works that you're doing, especially your page kits and the classes that you did if you didn't have time this weekend. I know there's been lots to watch and digest and take in and try and experiment, so I would love to see you continue to upload your work as you do it. And I'm hoping to have a go at Lucy's watercolour birds from last night. That will be fun. I just didn't have a chance last night. I was tucked up in bed, otherwise I would have got my watercolour sets out and had a go as she was doing it, but bed was too comfortable and warm last night when I rewatched the video. Okay, oh wow, that looks really cool. So that just gives you a different look with what it is. Oh, I've now 3 of these now. I love this stencil. This stencil is really cool. I haven't used it a lot. I will have to use it more. I'm trying to be conscious of using more of my design stuff in my art, but it's a struggle, and Jen did point that out to me, that I don't use a lot of my stuff. But what I find is I design it, I cut it, I package it, I list it on the website. I'm sick of the sight of it. Do I really want to go and play with it? But I'm getting over that, and I'm wanting to use my stuff more and more. Because yeah, it does sell and promote my products, but it's, yeah, when I get playtime away from my business, I just want to play and experiment and play with everyone else's stuff. So these are some of the things we created. So thank you very much for bearing with me, and I will upload this video as soon as my internet's going to play nice. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think. I'd love to see your comments. Bye for now.